Howdy, y'all.
Well, hello, everybody. Sorry that we're a little late coming live with you guys, but you have no idea.
Here we go again, Pastor Gigi?
Oh, my goodness. Again, just so you guys know, Apple did a big, massive update,
Yeah.
which is great because we stream off of like all Apple stuff.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wonderful. But then we have Ecamm,
Yep.
which is our actual program that we use to do, so we can basically hook up any camera to it that way.
Yeah, and
right?
put in all the goods.
Yeah.
The camera switches, the graphics, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
but then it changed some stuff on Ecamm because it wanted an update, so that's fine. We've done all that like actually a while ago.
Yep,
But
Sunday.
But then today, this little lovely machine decided, oh, where do you want to go? Want to go for a walk or what? Anyway.
It's been quite a challenge.
So we're a little bit later coming live with you guys right now just because of that, but that is okay.
Yep.
Because we've got it worked out now, hopefully, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, we're good. We're there. I think we are.
There's a few things that are not, and that like when we want to put this straight up to our YouTube channel. So those of you on YouTube, you may see some weird things happen. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Well, you know what? Whatever.
We got it covered.
We do, because you guys are what are important to us, and that's why we do what we do. Yep. Now, old business, let me just say.
Sorry, we were sick.
Yeah. Well,
I have jaw issues, sorry.
First off, Mandy had a dislocated jaw that she had to have dealt with and stuff like that.
Still dealing with it.
That was the first week. Then the next week, Pastor Georgette here wiped out. And for those of you that know, you know, but those of you that don't know, I have been diagnosed with MS. So one little tiny thing can escalate into way more, and I'm still struggling with this. I did not break my tailbone.
Nope.
I have been there before. I did not break it. None of those things, but I am still struggling to just sit. So me sitting here right now,
she's doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's a little painful. But you know what? Again, regardless of that, you guys are important. Yep. So thank you for just watching our 2 little short videos over the last couple weeks. But we're back and we're ready to give you part 2 of the week 4 that we had said that we were going to be doing. And it is so good. We did well. We meaning I, because I hadn't really talked to Mandy about this, but I had debated on why don't we just go on to something else, because people, it's been 2 weeks for everybody, they're not going to understand. But then we decided, no, this is just too important to not share.
Yeah. This is a major core skill I'm trying to teach.
Yeah.
And if anything, us going through this would have given you a lot of time to work on your describe skill.
Yeah.
Because even though we're not here, that describe skill is going to be, as I said in the first one, because remember, I spent a lot of time on the describe skill. It's really important to have your describe skill down to get to the next 2 parts of the skill, which I'm going to share today, which is, observing, and then we're going to do describing, and then participating, because we're talking about trying to change fear and anxiety.
And those types of things, like these skills that Mandy is sharing with you, are great not only for what we're talking about today, but for all walks of life.
Yep.
Like, so even if you're in the very beginning of your mental health journey, going to a doctor and being able to describe properly what's going on can help alleviate any gaslighting that may happen from doctors, because mental health is still such a topic that so many doctors don't really grasp the full concept of, because maybe they don't really understand it. And that's where a lot of the stigmas that we talk about all the time, that it's time for us to break the stigma. Yep. It has to come to a place, and that's why it's important to listen to these skills that Mandy's going to share, so that when you go to the doctor, you don't get gaslit, and you are able to describe the things so that your doctor can make an informed decision, whether it's he or she that is dealing with that with you, or they send you to somebody that is more able to deal with the situation. That's the type of thing. So that's why we're trying to give you guys the ability to learn these things. So Mandy gives you those skills that you can use in everywhere.
In the beginning, you might feel you can only use it maybe in your crisis mode, but really you are using it everywhere else. And as you actually spend the time working on the skills, and this is what I liked about the program, the DBT program for the borderline personality disorder diagnosis, is they know that it takes time for you to get to the point that it's automatic. That's
right.
why they're teaching it. You don't have those skills. It's not that you don't have it. You're not aware of it. You can't observe the fact that you have those skills. So by bringing the what skills in right now, I'm trying to give you guys a light upon how to get yourself to the point where you can describe to the doctor with good words.
That's right.
You know, when a doctor says, "Oh, how are you feeling today?" and you go, "Sad," that doesn't work.
That's right.
It doesn't. That's a generalized word. How do you feel today? Oh, good. No. That's what you say to somebody when you're walking past them on the street. You're not looking to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you got to remember, guys, before I completely tell you all the other things, you got to remember the stuff that Mandy shares here about how to describe your stuff and whatnot. Again, like I say, like I have heard lately so many times of people that have gone, they're in pain, but they don't know how to describe the pain. Maybe it's like appendix, or it's, you know, a mental headache pain or whatever. They don't know how to describe it properly, and they get put onto the records as a stressed out person, or they're, you know, coming in and they obviously have mental health issues, but in a bad way they're saying this.
Yeah, it's not to help you.
That's right.
It's to hinder you, actually.
So then the next thing you know, all of a sudden you've got a psychologist coming, the hospital psychologist coming, and they're like, "Are you depressed?" You know, stuff like that, where it's like, look at, dude, that's not what I'm trying to say here. So learning these skills that Mandy's going to share can honestly, in so many instances, they can be a life or death. And I don't mean necessarily physical death, but your feeling of death type
or
of thing.
invalidating. And that's one thing is, you know, when we do go through a lot of trauma, because they're often, and this is something that I experienced when I was a young girl, as soon as they found out that boy hurt me, they heard how he hurt me, but they didn't necessarily hear, they didn't hear how it affected me on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And that was in grade 5. So by the time I was in grade 7, I was seriously depressed, guys. That was my first attempt. And that was because
she didn't know.
But nobody knew how to help me. I didn't know how to describe it. They would ask me how I'm doing. I'd be good, but my body language was showing that I was maybe solemn, but I didn't know how to describe actually what I was feeling till it was out of control. And then it was very easy, and I'm sure you all relate to what I'm saying. Yeah, you might not be able to describe it, but when it's exploding out of you, it comes. Well, this is all the practice so that when you are in any moment, not just your crisis moment, your day-to-day life, in order for you to communicate to another person effectively, you need to be able to effectively observe, describe before you could step in and participate.
Exactly.
And that's the big thing about this. And that's why I think this is a great place with our spiritual aspect to bring in, because it is so skill-based. It's so skill-based that bringing the spirituality into it, even if you are not like believe in God, Jesus, you believe in Buddha, anyway, it doesn't matter the way you do it. In Buddhism, because I practice, you spend a lot of time observing.
She used to practice. practice.
Used to practice.
Yeah.
Like in my early 20s, I practiced.
Yeah. And so, you know, all of these little things being said, that's why we're giving you these skills as often and as many times as we possibly can.
Yeah.
So I'm going to segue into our next little bit, which says that neither Mandy nor I are doctors or counselors. Okay. Mandy is my professional. She has taken courses on all of these things and learned a lot of things. I mean, she doesn't know every single thing, and nor do I.
And we don't even want to claim that we do.
No, we do not. But what we do know, the things that we can share with you, we want to share with you. First off, before anything, we want to break the stigma, okay, of mental health. Number two, we want to make it so that you have the skills to press forward, whichever way that you choose to do that, so that you can actually look at the things that we're sharing with you and you can go further, because you are not alone. It's true. We're right here with you and we want to help you through things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray, and then we're just going to get started.
We're just going to get into it, because it is a lot of good food to eat today.
It is a lot of good food. So we want you guys to be prepared. Again, just a reminder, we are dealing with the teaching. We're dealing with the teaching from Winning the War in Your Mind. Okay. So that is important. So there are clinical things in this teaching, but there are spiritual things as well, and how they collate together. Yes. And then Mandy has way more of the clinical things that she's going to share with you. So here we go. So, Lord, we just want to say thank you for this day. Lord. Thank you for every single person that is watching us right now and trying to learn new skills. We just pray that your hand would be upon them to just help them through all of this stuff. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So many things. Okay, so the last time that we spoke, 2 weeks ago, sadly, we were talking about the rewire principle, okay? And how to rewire your brain or renew your mind, okay? So we're like specifically on that one, we had been talking about money and how money can trigger, you know, all kinds of things, because we could, like, it's like in the spiritual side of things, we would look at it as like a generational curse that has followed, like, you know, the thing that you may have heard, or you may even say to yourself or to other people, is like, I've been poor all my life, gonna be poor forever. That you need to rewire that, because that is not correct thinking. So your parents, perhaps, and I don't want to trigger anybody that may have had difficulties with their parents and stuff like that. That's not where we're at here. But perhaps your parents used to say stuff like that, and then you don't even realize how that sneaks into your life, and then you start saying it, and it's like the whole new trend right now is manifesting. Everybody wants to manifest good things, so they say stuff to out loud like, I am a winner and I am going to win everything I do, and they're trying to manifest that in their lives. Well, it's the same basic idea here on the negative side, where you're actually manifesting crappy things, really, for lack of a better word, just to make it easier. It's like you're manifesting crappy things. You're manifesting in yourself that you'll always be poor and you're never going to have any
or I'm
money.
never going to get better, or
that's right.
Or it's basically allowing those negative thoughts to overtake you, and then you just feed into them, and well, you just keep feeding it.
Yeah.
They start, like we've said in the past, you can't always control that first thought. It's what you do with it.
What you do with it. That's
and very often that one negative thought, which Pastor Gigi and I take as, and we know it is, it's the enemy going and taking that negative stuff and trying to come and infiltrate you away from the love and light of God. While in the world without the spiritual, and you're just looking at it as a positive and a negative, well, for every positive there is far more negative. So very often you have to look for the positive. That's why it's so easy to be caught in the negative and for it to perpetuate to the point it's out of control. Yeah.
And just know that, like, Mandy and I, we still struggle with these things too. Okay? Oh, yeah. But we have learned, I mean, I always say to Mandy, like for myself, that I always try to give myself one day or some time in that feeling that I'm feeling, because I want to validate my feelings too, because everybody has feelings. So I want to validate that, but I don't want it to sit and germinate and take its root, so to speak, in who I am.
Yep.
So that's why, like I say, it's okay to feel that for a few minutes, but then get past it. So that's why we're very particular about the skills and learning things and being able to see and say, hold on a minute, me being this sad or this depressed or this whatever feeling that I'm feeling right now, that is not where I should be. I'll let myself experience it for a second, but then I'm going to push through it and say no to that. I don't want to experience that. And then when you come out of that and you look back at it, you can say, whoa, I get it now. I can see where that came from.
And now we're going to go, what skills did you use?
That's
How
right.
did you get through that moment?
Hence the skills that Mandy's going to be
How
talking
did you use? Describe it for me. You had to observe to get through that moment, so you knew what skill you used. Do you see how fast these what skills are coming in? And
so much
we
easier.
haven't even gone into it barely.
Yeah.
I've gone into just describing.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get on with this then. I am going to read the little things that we, like the verses that we had read last time, and then I'll read the ending of this teaching. So, because we're basically going to start learning how to rewire our brains, because that's, like I said, we're talking about the rewire principle. And yes, this is a spiritual thing that we're dealing with regards to this teaching, but it can transcend into just regular life as well, which is how Mandy and I are trying to show you guys that the spiritual can and does go into the clinical, and the clinical can and does go into the spiritual. You see how all of these things can happen.
In my belief, in my love, in the fact that I've been saved for 15 years, I know that it's God working, and by me learning how to give these things to the Lord, that is a skill that I use. I can go and find it in like actual skill-based stuff, because it is in there.
Yeah.
I could probably point it out to you about 4 or 5 different skills that could be spiritual based.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing is I've learned in some situations is really not mine to control.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do it is I use a mental image of putting it to the cross, and that I'm walking away, and
exactly,
it's there.
Exactly. And that's part of the observing. You'll hear more about it. I'm going to read this, and then that gives Mandy the opportunity to take a drink of our products that are not for your viewing. And they're not bad products. They're just coffee, but they're from someplace, and we don't want to show that.
Yeah, no, we're not doing any advertising. Maddie doesn't do advertising in this stuff.
We don't free advertise for anybody.
No. So I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so here is the verse, or here are the verses that we spoke of. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, and that's Philippians 4:12. Now, most of this stuff is all coming from NIV, so the New International Version, okay? I will save you, and you will be a blessing, and that's Zechariah 8:13. It is more blessed to give than to receive, Acts 20:35. God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. And that's 2 Corinthians 9:8. And then the last one is God will meet all your needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus, Philippians 4:19. Why are we re-saying these again? Because again, it's the rewire principle that we're talking about, and these are reminders to you that you are blessed, that God has great things for you. And when the enemy comes in to try and tell you, like we were talking about money specifically, and the enemy comes in and tries to tell you, like I said, the generational curse that says you're never going to have money, you're always going to be poor, you can remind the enemy of this and say, God will meet all of my needs according to his riches and glory in Jesus Christ. Again, Philippians 4:19. Like, these are little things that you can use to kick the enemy's butt again. For those of you that stand and believe in that. And even if you don't necessarily believe in that, try it.
Try it.
I'm not joking. God still hears.
He hears all the time. The
That's
really
right.
neat thing is when I accepted Jesus in my time, when I was saved, it was like, oh, because for me, I was in such a dark place, and it was truly like in my mind's eye, I was in a dark tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
That the day that the light kind of, it was first like a flashlight, guys, because my first service was, I was in there and I liked the music, and the music dropped my 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 inhibitions about the fact I was in a spiritual place, because they were literally playing a rock and roll tune to Amazing Grace. I cried, and then all of a sudden, Pastor Pat at the time, she goes into her sermon on love. Well, it was like the light was turned on in my tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that always, especially if you're struggling in mental health, and this is something I want to share before Pastor Gigi goes on. My one psychologist, whom I still work with here and there, but 10 years we worked together through my DID diagnosis, he always said, man, you have to have an open mind. It, because of my multiple personalities, I actually had to consciously have an open mind,
Mm-hmm.
because I had so many other personalities that were caught in trauma that if I was closed minded, I wouldn't have ever been able to get to them.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing I'm saying as Pastor Gigi's reading this stuff is be open-minded,
Mm-hmm.
because the Lord will come and work in you when you're open-minded.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it in more simpler ways. It's, you're clearing your mind for that positive to come in, guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're clearing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in words, you've cleared your mind of the negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mantra. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to read a piece of scripture, find yourself a good piece of mantra that when you say it, it stomps on that negative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get her done here,
Get her done.
because we don't want to keep you guys
No.
forever, and we're already at 24 minutes after.
I know.
Sickening.
I
It's
know.
sickening how fast
It's,
it goes.
it's so fast.
Okay, so here we go. From these, I put together what I call a declaration. Okay, so rewire principle. Now we have the declaration to help us through things. Okay, what I am declaring to be true in my battle against the lies I am tempted to believe. The goal of the declaration is to have it become my new neutral pathway. Sorry, neural pathway. Neural, your brain, not neutral. Neural pathway. My intentionally dug trench of truth. Okay, again, like I said, we are really trying to change our thought process here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my declaration based on God's word. Money, again, we're talking about money specifically, just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're dealing with money issues, then this can help you,
Mm-hmm.
but you can change it to whatever issue that you're dealing with, right? Money is not and never will be a problem for me. My God is an abundant provider who meets every need. Because I am blessed, I will always be a blessing. I will lead the way with irrational generosity, because I know it's truly more blessed to give than to receive, which is a true story.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of the declarations that speaks directly to a problem that has plagued me for years. These statements create a new pathway leading to peace and generosity. What new neural pathway do you need to create? That depends on your old pathway, right? So think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Draw your declaration from God's truth and make them your own. Be creative, write a declaration, blah blah blah. You guys understand how to write down things, and I'm not going to go fully the rest of this, because it's just basically the same thing about creating your new neural pathway.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the declaration, I'm putting this out there. I didn't even talk to Mandy about this, but I know that she would be fine with it. Contact us in the comments if you want us to talk to you about more scripture, more things like that that can help you with your specific issue.
Yes.
Okay, so if money is not your issue, but say you're dealing with depression or something like that, you want to create a new neural pathway, contact us. Contact us however you need to. Even on Instagram, if you want to, you can go onto our mental health check on Instagram, and you can DM us If you don't want everybody to see your comment on our YouTube or
Yeah.
on our Facebook or whatever, that's fine too. And we will do as much as we can to help you to learn to like new scriptures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
God's
give
word
you
to
idea to build those neural pathways.
That's right. That's right. Because that's the whole point here, is that we're trying to create a new neural pathway that doesn't stand in that place where you're in depression or you're having money issues or whatever it is that you're dealing with. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Mandy,
Okay.
and read your stuff now.
Okay.
Sorry.
I know.
Stop talking.
I know, it's okay. We're good at talking. It's never a fault until you have to stop.
True story.
I know, right? I deal with it all the time, like quite legitimately. So last time we chatted, we started only in the description, in describing. I'm not going to go deep into it because of all the papers. It's like 5 of the 7 papers. So we're not going to go through it as detailed, but I am going to give you a couple of my favorite parts. Describing is putting words, I'm going to put this in front of me so I'm not looking off camera. Putting words on the experience. When a feeling or a thought arises or do something, acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. You're not even at describing. You can't describe it till you acknowledge it. True. Hard, but it is. I'm in the process of having to acknowledge a lot of things right now.
Yeah, it can be very painful. And if you're going back to like what I just said about whether your issue is with money or say depression, like I said, this thing is very important. Acknowledge that.
You have to. How can you fix something?
If you're going to pretend like it's not there.
If it's an elephant under the carpet, but you don't know that it's an elephant, you can see that it's a bump.
You're just stepping over the bump or onto the bump.
Or it's asking for a peanut from underneath the carpet every once in a while, but you know it's an elephant. Well, you can't really describe it till you see that elephant.
That's right.
Anyway, that was a good one. I always think about the elephant under the carpet, that is, or the skeletons in the closet. That's, you know, that stuff that you stuff it away. Put your experience into words. Describe to yourself what is happening. Put a name on your feelings. I challenge you to put a real feeling, a real name. Not just good, not just bad, not just sad. If you have a hard time finding descriptive words for feelings, maybe that's what I will get on that for next round, so we can work on describing our feelings. Especially with mental health, we need to describe our feelings. Very, very important. Name on your feelings. Call a thought just a thought and a feeling just a feeling. Don't get caught in the content. And then there was one other part, and then I'm going to scoot on to the next part. Okay. 2 more. I lie. Control your attention, but not what you see. Push away nothing. Sorry, I'm having slang there. Cling to nothing. It's actually my jaw. I've been told I don't enunciate because of my jaw. So sorry if you don't understand me. I'll try a little bit better. Be like a guard at the palace gate. Alert to every thought, feeling, and action that comes through the gate of your mind. So now we're going to go on to the next part. Sorry, I got us zoomed in because, well, I got us zoomed in. I'm, being the techie and everything. Okay. Wow, did I, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness, woman. Oh, yes, and the Teflon mind. Remember having the Teflon mind?
Yeah, the Teflon mind. And just as a reminder of that, the Teflon mind basically is just letting things, it comes in and it just like slides off like Teflon, right? You don't have to have those negative thoughts. You don't have to keep them.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to. Although so many of us think that we have to, oh, it's my thought. I have to. No, you don't. You don't. It's like setting up boundaries in your life. You don't have to do all the things that people require or that's, is required at that moment. There is prioritizing. There's boundaries. That's why these are all like watchwords for us.
Yes. They're huge watchwords. And I read you a little bit of the actual describing part because, while my brain is a little scattered, I apologize. I thought it was more organized, but obviously I'm not. Anyway, so that the idea of observing is to just take your time to observe it. You can't judge it. You're just observing it. You don't cling on to it. It's like being in an ocean and you're the seaweed and you're just floating with the waves. If at any time, guys, so what happens before we get to the description? What happens when you're in that observation? You keep getting overwhelmed. How do you deal with that? Well, we've shared with other skills. That's when you go into your distress tolerance skills and you start, excuse me, verbal distress tolerance skills, and you start using a self-soothe, or you're trying to, you use some skills to bring yourself back because you're trying not to cling to it. So in clinging to it, if you find yourself clinging to it, work on coming back to the moment, re-acknowledge that moment, take a breath, and start again. When you're first observing, you don't have to actually describe it, which is unfortunate because I kind of smashed a bit together. When you're observing, that is your pause time. That's that brain space time that you're trying to take your breath, right? We've spoken about this in the past. So now after you take your breath, you've acknowledged and you observed the fact, now you're going to describe it. And describing is pretty much, like I said,
well, it's like the old memory game that we used to play when we were little kids, where even if you played it with cards, you had to remember, oh, well, the ace of spades is here, but the ace of spades is up here. It's that same type of idea.
It's the same idea. You're kind of organizing your thoughts before you describe it, right? It's like when you're, a good example, puzzles. You look at the box and then you start looking down at the 300 pieces. Well, every once in a while you have to go back and look at the box. Well, that's observing. That's observing. You're not upset. You're not frustrated in that moment. You're just going, oh yeah, I can't remember what everything looks like, because when it's in 2,000 pieces, that's why puzzles are hard. And then you get the really close colored ones, right? And then you have people like my fiance, and he's colorblind. Well, that could be a challenge doing a puzzle now that I think about it in this example. But you're just observing in this moment.
Yeah, you're just looking at it.
Okay, so you've just been looking. You've taken your time to take your breath, make that mental space. Now we're going to go on to describing it. Yeah, that only takes sometimes it takes you a millisecond to do it when you're not in crisis. But when you're in crisis, you need to make the effort. I know, at least in my experience, I have to make the effort to make that a pregnant pause. In other words, you're not just looking at it, acknowledging it, and going to describing. No, you need to look at it, because very often you have feelings associated with it that are overwhelming you. So the first thing you do is, Pastor Gigi, take a breath.
I like how she's like, Pastor Gigi, take a breath.
That's true. Acknowledging it.
Yep.
That's how quick an acknowledgement could be and an observation could take.
Yeah.
But sometimes that could be many breaths because you are in a full-blown anxiety moment.
I know somebody who has very debilitating anxiety, and they actually, and I'm not saying or recommending or anything, but they got a tattoo on their arm that says breathe, and it's written so that they can read it, not that so that you can read it, just as a reminder. So when they're in the cold sweat and they're losing control of themselves, they can just go, okay.
I have my first therapist voice still to this day in my head, and I hear him, breathe, Amanda. Breathe.
That's the most important thing, because what do you do when you're in stress? You tense up and hold your breath, and you're looking at all the things that are happening and stuff like that, but you're not taking it in. That's why it's important, like Mandy says, a pregnant pause, to just go observing, looking around. Observing does not mean oh, there's a lamp and it's got a yellow shade and no.
We're not at that point.
You're not on the description. You're just observing. I had to learn this part.
And Pastor Gigi is adorable because she always goes back, I did it this way, you showed on the video, and wow, that actually works.
It does work.
It's adorable when she comes back every single time, because it's like, yeah, I know I went through that part in my therapy where it's like, okay, I'll stop saying it doesn't work, because yeah,
it does actually work. And that's why it's the clinical side of things, because they have been tried and true. They actually do work.
Yeah, they actually do work, guys. They don't all work for everybody, because your moment, my moment are two different things.
That's right.
Anyway, let's describe this now. We've acknowledged it. We've taken our breath. Instead of Pastor G talks about holding your breath. Well, if you are breathing, like, that's not good to you either.
No.
Breathe.
Like actually in with the
Breathe.
good.
The word breathe is a long one. You should be saying, that's how you should be breathing in those moments. Especially if you're hyperventilating, you really need to go the other way now. Because you're over breathing and you're going to just pop your brain. It works that way too. Anyway, okay. So now we're going to put some words on it. When a feeling or a thought arises or you do something, acknowledge it. Describing using words to represent what you observe. Observing and noticing and attending. There are no words. Describing is in a reaction to observing. And this is really important because up until now, we've just been observing. And this is what it's saying. Describing is a reaction to observing. It is labeling what you observe. Such acknowledgement is expressed recognition of your experience. So now we're going to go into an example how to describe something. For example, you say in your mind, sadness has enveloped me, or stomach muscles tightening, or a thought, I can't do that, has just come into my mind. Or walking, step, 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 step. Self-awareness is the ability to name an emotion like sadness as sadness from a slightly detached viewpoint. So you know that you are having sadness, but you're actually saying it's sadness. Thoughts are often confused with facts. Okay? If I can't do this comes into your mind, this does not necessarily mean that in fact you cannot do whatever.
Right.
In other words, you're judging you can't. I generally
don't ever judge things.
Don't say don't and I won't, and that's how I do my life.
I just say that because Mandy was like, I didn't ask you to judge it. When the one time that we did the little candies thing and she kind of spun it on me because I'd never done any of those
I totally
things.
set you up for that one too.
She totally did.
I should have recorded the pre-stuff, guys, because it was adorable. Anyway, so they're often confused with facts. Thoughts. Self-effectiveness. Oh, look at me
Whoops,
today.
I put up a wrong thing.
What did you put up,
I put up
Pastor
the
G?
little hand, the mic drop chick.
Woo! Oh, well, we're right at it.
There we go. That's what I meant right there.
Yeah. Self-effectiveness depends on your ability to test the reality of your thoughts. Describing a thought as just a thought requires you to notice that it is a thought instead of a fact. Put experiences into words. Describe to yourself what is happening. Put a name on that feeling. Describing, using words to represent what you observe. Describing is just the facts. And really, very often when I get into situations where I know that I'm using this skill and I'm judging, or I'm not just at the facts, I call myself on it. And guess what, guys? I start right at the beginning again. And this is me sharing as we go because I have read this, but as we go, I always get in my spirit how to explain it to you. Describing is using words to represent what you observe. Describing is just the facts. Judging is labeling something in an evaluative way. The ability to apply names to behavioral and environmental events is essential for both communication and self-control. You got any more on this? Okay. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises to practice your observing skills. And then we're going to move into participating.
Or do we want to do that next week?
We might, because then that way you can practice these two, and then participating will be like the absolute end of that.
And that's going to be a standalone, I think, next week. Maybe we'll do the participating.
Yeah.
We'll go through some stuff.
Well, we're going to always recap it a little for you guys because, there is a lot
because
to go on.
I think this might be a little too deep if we go too far.
Yeah. And really, I want you guys to be able to choose the observing because describing. I'm getting them backwards really bad right now. We left you, consequently, with 2 weeks of observing. Well, maybe it's meant for you to have a good week of describing.
I never think that anything that we, like, if we do stuff and it ends up that it's, like, longer, then maybe there's a reason for it.
And Pastor Gigi, you are awesome. That's a God thing. That's walking in faith. That's understanding that it's not, I just finished saying it. It's not, we can't control everything.
Yeah.
That's because there is a larger force in the world that has got the time on it, and it has nothing to do with our time. God's time is a very, very interesting time feeling because it's based on faith. He's already written your path, guys. This is you learning how to see that path. Yes, it sounds overwhelming. It might even sound fake for those that don't believe in the Lord, but it is essential to be able to move forward with this stuff. So I'm going to leave you with some exercises because we're right around the number that we should start to think to stop. So for practicing for exercises, and like I like to roll out a couple so that you don't feel like there's no way to do it. So I'm going to just like give you a couple. Actually, I'll do a few. Experience one hand on a Did I do this again?
No, you're on description and you're...
No, that's practices for observing.
Oh, okay.
Wow, Mandy.
Well, how about this?
Oh, that's unfortunate.
How about this? Let's just give them one descriptive example yourself. She knows.
I know. I just wanted to have a little bit so that you guys can see that it's not made by me.
Yeah.
For my describing, I like to go and put myself in an environment that has, if you love the nature, yes, that's a judgment, but it's easier for me to go and sit by the river because I can get myself to the level that I can observe something with no judgment, no clinging. It's like the water that goes past. Here in Calgary at the Bow River, the bigger of the two rivers that run through Calgary is the Bow River. I love to sit on the Bow River and watch the river go past. It works on my observing skills because it gets me into the relaxation that I can acknowledge the nature around me. So I'm able to actually just observe it and let go of everything. I'm actually choosing to use no emotion in this. This is 100%. So I sit down on my log and I observe. And I take my breaths because it smells so good. My brain is already wanting to describe. When I first would smell the air in the beginning, it'd be, oh, it's cold out here. You didn't describe it.
You judged it.
Thank you.
I was right.
Pastor Gigi's getting it.
I am starting to get it. It's hard, though.
So if I was out there now, it would be, I smell snow on the air. I hear the bubbles as the river moves down. That's describing. There's, in my mind's eye, I would love to say, those bubbles, they're so big. But are they? That's a judgment.
Yep.
You're not describing it. Describing it is, you can go on that they're big bubbles, but you need to make sure that you specify that there are big bubbles and there's little bubbles. And then for me, when I describe sounds, because I'm very attuned to sounds, because I can see a single flash frame, I can hear things. I can't hear low ends, but I hear high end very well. And so I can be sitting there and I can go, ooh, that bubble just popped. I heard that bubble pop. It sounded like, and that's working on your observation and your description without going into practice yet. I'd like to leave you guys there. Where are some places you would like to sit and observe?
Yeah, I will throw out one thing that I do while Mandy is looking for our phone numbers and stuff like that, because I know we always struggle with that. One of the things that I do specifically, I do this at doctor's offices because you guys know, or when I'm in the MRI machine, I do this. So I open my eyes and I look around, I observe, then I close my eyes because you have to close your eyes, say in the MRI machine, and then I describe everything that I saw and where it was. Okay? And then I open my eyes and I look and I'm like, okay, yes, yes. And I go back over it in my head and I see all these things that I described. And maybe the judgment inside of me will have said, oh, it's over there. But really and truly, it's right here. It's right. You see what I'm saying? So then you can start to distinguish between what is description in your head and what you are judging. and what, like, those are little things for me that I do. I don't know if that's correct, but those are things that I'm
trying
doing.
to find facts.
And sometimes, for those of you, maybe if you're right in the middle of a mental health crisis and it's really hard to just even breathe, so observing and description, like Mandy is talking about, without the judgment, is very important, to just maybe go someplace where you are not used to being, because automatically in your own home, you're going to start judging. You're going to start doing these things. You can look in your office and be like, okay, well, there's a calendar over there. There's blah, 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 blah. Oh, I should move that calendar. And no, that's not what we're asking.
Or I missed that date. Oh gosh, exactly. You got to start again.
Then you've got, yeah, exactly. So restart yourself. That's why it's always better to go someplace that you've never been before, so that you can't judge the situation. You can't judge what's going on, but you can just see in your mind's eye, okay, well, where all these things are, you're describing it in yourself. Then you look and you're like, yeah, that's exactly it. No, that's over there. Simple, but it's also a distraction tool so that you're not sitting in the stink.
Another one that just literally popped into my head. Mindfulness. We go on about mindfulness. Mindfulness is all about working on your just observation and your description skills. Mindfulness.
Yep.
So you go and put your hands in that soap to wash your dishes. Instead of going, just notice those bubbles. I bet you'll hear them pop. I do. And then the little shiny on it. Spend some time being mindful when you do. I always use mindfulness as a good tool to practice these skills.
Yeah.
Because there's three skills to get you through the moment. Observe, describe, and use mindfulness. So when you're in a moment and you're distress tolerance and you need to do something, take that breath, pull out that orange sun-kissed sunburst, and sit there and go, orange. And I challenge you, because I know Pastor Gigi loves her oranges, orange anything. Sit there knowing that you already like it, but maybe challenge yourself to just describe it.
Yeah, or even just one new thing about it that you have never felt before or thought before.
Put all your effort into
it's hard. I promise you that it's not going to be necessarily an easy thing, especially if you love something. Like, I love the orange flavors. Like, if I had to choose between a grape popsicle and an orange popsicle, it would be the orange popsicle all the way.
I'd be grape. No wonder we're such good friends.
See? But then you'd have to sit there and you're like, okay, yeah, this is orange and this is yummy and this is blah, blah, blah. Find something new about it that you've never thought of before. Maybe you're like, wood. I can taste wood because of the stick. I don't know what it is, but that's all we have to do. So we should put up.
I'm ready.
We're way long today.
I'm right over the button.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Pastor G's got the first part.
Okay. So here's the numbers that you can call if you are in distress in any way. So in an emergency, you dial 911. If you're a young person, the kids' help phone is 1-800-668-6868, or you could text the word connect to 686868. Calgary Distress Center is 403-266-4357, and the 4357 equals the word help on your dial pad. Your mental health helpline is 1-877-303-2642, and then the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255.
She was almost laughing at me.
I was, and I won't tell you why.
I know, I'm a silly
The things
bird.
that happen behind the scenes. Do you want me to do this one too?
Yeah, okay. Okay, yep, go.
Okay, so if you want to contact Mandy and I, like what I had said earlier is that if you guys wanted to contact us privately, of course you can do that, always. You can do that on our Facebook page. If this is where you're catching us on the live right now, then that's awesome. You can contact us via our messenger on our church Facebook page, or we do have other things, so I'll tell you about that in a second. But to contact us via messenger on Facebook or Instagram, it's at Living Waters Victory Church. On Twitter, it's at Living Waters VI1, or you can email us at Living Waters or lwvcinformation@gmail.com, or prayer email is lwvcprayer@gmail.com. Now, let's say you're like, I don't want to have anything to do with your religion or your church or anything, that's fine. Just contact us via our mental health stuff. So we have a Twitter account, which is at MHC_story, our Instagram, which is MHC Your Story, or you can email us at mhcyourstory@gmail.com. So many things. We really do try not to give you like 8 bazillion things, but we also want to be able to give you all the resources you need.
Don't get stuck. That 1,000-pound syndrome, don't give up, guys. I know in the moment it's really hard to deal with, but those numbers, we put them up every single time. Again, we're trying to build that into your brain that there is help.
Yeah.
Because when you're in those moments, you think you are alone, but you're not.
You're not.
You're not. There are a lot of people that care. You have to advocate for yourself, but there are people there, and that's why we give you the numbers so that you're not just stuck with one.
Yeah.
Or one email.
Yeah.
Pastor Gigi is awesome at answering, and she's always to me because Instagram and stuff. I don't do Instagram, guys. I'm sorry, I just don't. I do Facebook, YouTube. So Pastor Gigi's really good at things like that. And so when you leave message, I always hear about it. So if you specifically want me to speak to you, we can find a way to do that. Don't ever feel stuck.
And if you would just like to hear information, I always talk to Mandy anyway. And if she has clinical stuff that she can share with me, then I will write that out for you. Or I will write out the spiritual side. It doesn't matter. Whatever you guys need is what's important for us.
Yes.
Because we love you guys.
Absolutely. We love you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, more than you actually realize.
Yeah, I don't think you guys actually realize
it's that unconditional love that we know the Lord gives on to all of us. We believe that's what our purpose is to move forward and just shine that on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually talking to somebody at my other job last night, and they were talking about how they were struggling with their mental health so desperately. And I said, well, we have a YouTube channel if you want. And they were totally like, I'm going to watch some of those. And they started watching them, and they've already messaged me and said, wow, this is so helpful. So check us out, like us, subscribe.
Absolutely.
All of those things. I think that it's important.
Yeah, and we've been going for a bit now, guys. And
we're 2 years.
2 years, and we're not giving up. We're not quitting. We're not quitting. It's all about becoming more efficient in our lives so that we can actually present more content.
That's right.
Anyhow,
shall I pray?
Lord, I lift up this live stream for those that were here with us. Thank you, Lord, for them being touched in this moment. Lord, for those people that are catching us up replay in all our formats that you give to us to reach to people, Lord, thank you. May they be touched too.
Yeah.
May this be the instrument that maybe brings them to you, Lord, because maybe they didn't understand that spirituality is part of their mental health. Lord, fill them with the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom to know that there is help.
Yeah.
There from you, from us, from all those people that really do love them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, guys, we love you. And like I said, subscribe if you're on our YouTube channel right now. Do that because it helps the algorithms. It helps us. If you're on our Instagram, again, follow us. Algorithms. Everything is about algorithms right now. But anyway, we love you guys. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Live it, love it, and be it. Bye for now, guys.